What is up, YouTube? With the new patch being released, Abbasid and Delhi both received a buff to their berry gathering. So in this video, I hope to answer the question for you. Is it still better to start sheep in most cases, or has the meta shifted to a berry opening? I'm going to mostly be focusing on different openers for Abbasid. The reason I'm not going to be focusing as much on Delhi is because you should always at least be building a mill instantly as soon as the game starts, just so you can get the wheelbarrow tech as soon as possible, as the technologies are free for Delhi. The changes outlined were berry harvest rate increased from 25% to 30%, and the carry capacity is now 13 instead of 10. These changes might sound small, but they actually have quite a solid effect. People underestimate how much resources are wasted from the carry time, which was a big downfall to the berries, with your early vills having to walk all the way to build the mill, and also the travel time from gathering berries and dropping it off to your mill compared to dropping your sheep off to your town center. And it was an even bigger deal when your first two berry batches ran out and then your vills had to walk even further to drop it off the mill. In this video, I'm going to cover timings, but I won't be breaking down percentages and analytics at a really deep level, because I believe the most important things about these openers aren't the raw numbers. We'll be taking a look at both the opportunity costs for gathering sheep versus berries, and then you can make decisions on what you think is better. There's going to be 4 big things that I cover when considering if you should gather sheeps or berries in the opening. But first, let's talk about the different age uptime. So the fastest option to getting up to age 2 right now with Abbasid is not training a scout, starting 7 on berries, then moving 4 to gold. Aging uptime is around 4 minutes. It can be a few seconds earlier or later depending on your spawn, but keep in mind this means you won't have enough wood for a lumber camp, and you'll need to chop straggler trees, meaning lost villager seconds in transition to age 2, and also slightly delayed military. So the real benefit of this opener is to get up earlier and save some food by taking your fresh foodstuffs earlier, which will result in saving 25 food. And if you wanted to, you could get a slightly faster wheelbarrow, but I'm not going to dive into wheelbarrow for now, as I'm working on a new video where I'll be testing early wheelbarrow opening for every single civ, seeing the different impacts across all the different civilizations. So if you're interested in seeing that, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Now let's talk about a sheep opening. Can usually age at around 405 to 410. Once again, this is going to depend on your spawns. So on average, it's around 6 to 10 or even more seconds later. Keep in mind that you will have the wood for a lumber camp, so you don't need to chop straggler trees in transition, resulting in more efficiencies gained there. I'm going to dive into what I believe the best opener is for Abbasid in the new patch. Keep in mind, it's still quite new and the meta may evolve from this recording, but from all the openings I've tested, this seems to be the best for a few reasons. But let's talk about the opportunity cost of starting sheep versus berries. If you are relying on your sheep for food to get up to your next age, this means your scout has to continuously come back to your base and drop off sheep, meaning you aren't going to be able to scout constantly. If you open berries, there is no need for your scout to come back to your base, meaning you will likely end up collecting more sheep and having more information on what your opponent is doing in the Dark Age and also early Feudal Age. So the second point is early pressure. If you open sheep, not only are you less likely to collect more sheep in the Dark Age, but it also means that you have to move out to more exposed food sources earlier in the game. This does mean that you are more vulnerable to early pressure from, say, for example, French or English. Number 3, greed or aggression. This kind of ties into the last point. If you are planning on going an early second TC, you might feel more obligated to cover your berry spot. And in some cases, this might mean you might miss out on protecting 2 or 3 different resources points. For example, a wood line that also has gold on it and deer nearby. This does come down to individual map spawns, but I am taking into account consistency of these openers. So if you are a little bit lazy like me or have more importance to think about at the start of the game, having a consistent opener is really important. If you are planning on playing more aggressive, maybe having less sheep won't be as much of an issue for you, because you are forcing your opponent to stay in his base and defend your pressure. Number 4, matchup. If you are versing, say, the French or English, it might be considered more important to save your sheep in case you get a little bit overwhelmed and berries no longer become a safe source of food, especially if your closest batch of berries is in front of your TC. Plus, if you started berries, then you were more likely to get more sheep in the first place due to scouting, meaning more safe food for if you are under a lot of pressure. This isn't exclusive to French or English, but these guys are the most common civilizations to start throwing early aggression at you, especially considering both of these civilizations age up with a military building as their landmark. So overall, what do I think is the most optimal source of food in the Dark Age? Well, both. Now, I'm going to jump into an opening to explain why, but before I do, I have to give credit where credit is due. After testing and long discussions with some fellow Haruman lovers, State SC2 probably a top 2 Abbasid main pre-patch, and Hut, who is currently a top performing Australia player in AOE4. This opening did come from Hut though, so if you are interested in seeing the guy in action, be sure to check out his Twitch channel, which I will leave a link in the description to. Now let's get into the opening. Alright guys, so the opening for this build is we're going to start with all of our villagers on sheep. We're going to get our scout to bring the first 2 sheep home. So on every spawn, you will likely have 2 sheep around your town center. So you just want to bring those back. Maybe I brought my scout a little bit too far back here. And then from this point onward, your scout should not be coming back to your town center for a long time. Our objective is to cover as much of the map with this one scout, to bring as many sheep back and have as much information as possible with a single scout. So we have 7 on food here. Our first fill came to sheep as well. Then our first fill coming out after that is going to go build a house. Then it's going to go build a mining camp as well. You can see here. So he's shifted to do this and then the mining camp and then onto gold. Now, as well here, we're going to put down a foundation here of the House of Learning. I like to shift click builds. I didn't do it in this, oh actually I did. So what did I do here? Instead of popping out the build and then building this straight away, quite often these are small details, small efficiencies, but instead I like to either get this villager. Actually, I like to do it with the sheep villager. So what I do is I do shift and then click the House of Wisdom or the hotkey, build the foundation, and if you're holding shift, the vill's not going to do it. Right? It's just going to put the foundation so that as soon as your new vill comes out, you're going to start building it straight away here. And then you can just click on that vill again that you shift clicked onto this building here, and just right click back onto sheep. It's not going to disturb any of his gathering, and it's not going to kind of get this guy fumbling around on the foundation as well. Small detail, but at the higher level, all the small details kind of count. So we got 7 on food, and then our next 2 vills are going to be building these buildings, and then we're going to send 2 more onto gold after that. So we'll have a total of 7 on food and 4 on gold. Our scout is still scouting. Now, in this particular example of this game, I wasn't actually like prioritizing my scouting pattern or anything like that. I also haven't quite figured out what I like best in terms of a single scout pattern. Like in the past, I've always opened double scout pretty much in every game. So I never really experimented with the scout pathing of just one guy. It's also going to depend on the map as well. So once you have 7 on food, 4 on gold, we're going to start sending vills to wood here. You might be wondering, oh no, we're running out of sheep here, but it's alright. This build accounts for it, and we are going to get onto berries in time. So we're just about to click up here, and as you can see, the resources are lining up exactly. Go any second now. And then you can also manually drop off here if you really wanted to get it in that extra second or yeah. So age up is in queue here. We have 7 vills still on food, 2 on wood. But as soon as we get another vill in queue here, we're gonna take 3 off food. So we have a total of 4 on sheep. And I'll do that any second now. Here they come. And then as soon as you do this, send out the next vill across to berries. And the reason you don't do it with any other vill is that there's a chance you might slightly run short and waste maybe 1 resource. So we're sending the new vill out here. Our sheeps are just about to run out. We nearly have the wood for a mill. Now we do. We'll build that. And then we're going to shift click these sheep gatherers across to berries. So as soon as they finish that sheep, they're going to come out to berries here. Now, as I mentioned before, this has allowed our scout to continuously scout on the map. He never had to come home for sheep. And it also means all of these sheep are going to be safe food for once if there is any kind of feudal pressure. We're also not sacrificing any time by getting straggler trees here. So we're quite efficient. We've got the lumber, we've got the mill. And there's not going to be any inefficiencies when we're trying to transfer across into different things. So that's the build. I don't want to go. You're also going to get fresh foodstuffs as soon as you age up as well with the gold gatherers. But that's kind of like the opening. And I guess one thing that I wanted to talk about is this isn't going to be relevant for every single matchup, right? I'll probably end up doing this in like 90% of my matchups, but for like matchups like Rus, you're going to need 2 scouts. So there's a few options there, and I haven't quite figured out what I like best, but you could either just start full berries, or you can drop off an extra sheep. So you have 2 sheep around your town center, and you can pick up 1 more sheep anywhere with your scout, and bring that back so you don't run out of sheep before you can get onto the mill here. Obviously, if you are building a scout, the 3 sheep is not going to be enough. So that's kind of my thoughts on if you're going 2 scouts. 2 options: start berries or bring some sheep home earlier, and then just continuously scout off the back of that. And one of the things I like most about this build is that it gives you flexibility to do a lot of different things, right? So I think it's probably one of the most efficient things. Obviously, this change is new. The meta is still going to evolve quite a bit. But I like this opening burst. It gives you flexibility to go single TC off the back of this, or you can go into town centers, whatever you like to do. It's efficient for all of those options that you kind of want to do after this. Hopefully you enjoyed this discussion, guys, and hopefully it gave you some insights into what you could potentially be looking at doing in terms of opening with Abbasids. I will be coming out with complete build orders in the near future for this civ, now that they seem a lot more playable than what they were before. So if you're interested in seeing those, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video, guys. Peace out.